Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome back to another movie review. Today I'm gonna be reviewing A Quiet Place Part 2, and as usual I'm quickly gonna go through the story of this movie to tell you short what this movie is all about. Then I'm gonna share my own opinions and thoughts about this movie, so in case you didn't watch it, one big spoiler alert across the screen. And yeah guys, just click away from this video to avoid spoilers and come back after you watch a movie. If you want to, if you don't want to, you don't have to, it's totally fine. But if you really are interested in my opinions and thoughts about this movie right now, then stay with me till the end of this video and let's get started. Alright guys, A Quiet Place Part 2 is a movie that's been released this year, pretty recently actually, and it's a sequel to A Quiet Place movie that's been released in 2018. And by the way, I also reviewed that movie on my channel, so you can check it out if you want to, guys. And both of these movies are categorized as horror thrillers, even though I wouldn't really call them a horror movies. They're definitely not a horror movies. They were more of a survival thriller drama with some action, a little bit of everything, but definitely not a horror. Anyway, second movie continues exactly where the first movie ended, only this time there is an intro scene that shows you how this whole mess with the monsters from the first movie started. So in the first movie we have these creatures that are blind but have extremely developed hearing and can hear you a kilometer away even if you make a slightest sound, and they're extremely fast and deadly. They immediately rush towards your location and kill you. And they cannot be killed. Their skin is bulletproof, and people didn't figure out a way to kill them, at least until the end of the first movie, but we'll come to that later. And now after this intro scene shows you how it's all started, that actually an asteroid fell from the sky and then these monsters appeared. It actually shows you that these are aliens that came somewhere from outer space and now are just exterminating people across the world. And then movie switches back to where the first movie ended, and you just keep following that same family that you followed in the first movie. And this time they leave the farm they lived on and go outside in the world just trying to survive and see how everything is apocalyptic and abandoned. They realize people are now surviving and everybody is just fighting for themselves. They have to stay extremely quiet, not to make a sound, otherwise these monsters of course will come after them and try to kill them. And at one point in the movie, this family and this woman that we follow in the first movie with her family, she runs into this man that she used to know before the apocalypse, with her husband that unfortunately died. He actually sacrificed himself in the first movie to save his children, and she now meets their friend in Apocalypse and asks him for help, but at first he refuses, then later he agrees to help, and he actually goes after this girl that is, in my opinion, like the main hero of this story. She's also deaf, and she has a hearing device, and she realized that by the help of that hearing device she can produce high-pitched sounds that can damage these creatures and make them expose their skin and soft tissue, and then they can be killed easily with a headshot or just penetrating that soft tissue or whatever. So she actually figured out a weapon against these alien creatures, and now her plan is to find a massive radio tower and attach her hearing device to a microphone and just broadcast that high-pitched sound everywhere, and that way humans can defend themselves and kill these creatures. And that's exactly what she's up to in this movie. And then this guy that decided to help that family and woman goes after that girl, and all that story just starts to convert into that survival. And that's in short what happens in this movie and what this movie is all about. Now, I watched the first movie and I really loved it. The first movie was really good, and A Quiet Place Part 2 was something that I was actually waiting for and something that I was really excited about since I've seen a trailer for it. And second movie didn't disappoint me at all because it fulfilled exactly everything I expected. And this movie delivered exactly what I assumed it's gonna happen in a second movie. What I imagined it's gonna happen in a second movie is that this girl will find some sort of a radio tower or something and just broadcast that high pitch noise, and that way they will defeat the creatures. And that's exactly what happened. So this movie didn't disappoint me a single second. However, there are some differences between first and second movie. In the first movie, everything is just silence. They're using sign language to communicate, and they barely spoke in the first movie. However, in the second movie, they decided to change that. When they come to this underground bunker, there is this like chamber that is soundproof. They get inside and they talk to each other normally. So there is much more dialogue in the second movie than in the first one, and that's a good thing, honestly, because in the first movie, even though the movie is called A Quiet Place, I understand they can't talk because these creatures will come after them. I was annoyed at some points by all that silence and no communication between the characters, no dialogue. It annoyed me, but like tiny little bit. And they just decided to improve that in the second movie by implementing some dialogue and communication between characters, and that immediately just made me feel better about this movie. And it's exactly, again, something that I expected is gonna happen in this movie. So the concept of this movie is extremely simple. They're monsters, world's gone to shit, everybody's trying to survive, that's it. No fucking bullshittery or whatever. Everybody's just trying to survive against these creatures. Nobody knows what's gonna happen next. And I really love how this movie was shot, especially as the movie comes towards the end. There are scenes that are showing this girl and how she's trying to reach this radio tower, and then there are scenes that again switch back to her brother and her mother and the little baby, to her family, and they're synced. They're happening in the same time, and scenes are just switching from one to another, from this little girl to her family, and they're like synced and are happening in the same time, and it was so well shot. This entire movie has some very good shots. I remember there was a scene where this monster is just climbing above him on some metal bars. That shot was so steady, so clean. CGI on these monsters is extremely well done, and like the paranoia is actually real. It's still present. The ambience from the first movie, the feeling, everything is still present in the second movie, just much more improved. I especially loved how they showed the apocalyptic environment, how everything is now overgrown with vines, building collapsing, society has fallen. It's a real apocalypse. And the movie actually has those intense scenes. There's especially cool scene with a baby that has a breathing mask because it's inside of this soundproof box that they made, so if baby starts crying it's not gonna make any noise, but because of that baby has to have a mask with an oxygen to breathe inside that box. And at one point in the movie baby runs out of the oxygen, and I really love how mother had to go and loot the medical place for oxygen and actually deliver it to baby in the same time. And while she's doing that, there is another dramatic thing going on because the brother is trying to take care of the baby, but unfortunately he made a sound and this alien creature came. So he is a very young boy, he doesn't know how to survive. His leg has been hurt by a bear trap, and he's just trying to do his best to take care of the baby, and he also needs oxygen at one point. So this movie is like, it knows how to build intense atmosphere. It builds such an intense atmosphere that it never gets boring. It keeps you constantly interested about what's gonna happen next, or how they're gonna get out of that situation, what are they gonna do. Like, decisions and things that characters do in this movie is what makes it so interesting, in my opinion. Also, what makes it so interesting is its acting. I think all actors in this movie did a great job. Performance was on the point, in my opinion, and it's just simple and yet so fun movie. And it's a movie that got a sequel that's actually better than its prequel, and it's the second movie ended the way you know it's gonna be third movie, so I expected to be even better, and I can already assume what's gonna happen in a third movie, but again, I really want to see how is that gonna play out and what's actually gonna happen at the end of the third movie, and that's what I think it's interesting about A Quiet Place. So it's a great and yet simple movie. I totally recommend you to check it out if you are a fan of these survival type movies with monsters and all that vibes, you know, apocalypse and stuff. Because this movie has it. The first movie, not so much. They're like set on this farm, but the second movie has this apocalyptic environment and everything gives much better vibe, and it's a really great movie. I really love the second movie, and I'm speechless. Actually, it's so good. It fulfilled all my expectations, every single expectation, and everything I assume is gonna happen happened, and the movie just didn't disappoint me a single second, and that's why it's so good in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's it for this movie review. If you enjoyed it, then go ahead and leave a like, share, comment, or subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's totally fine. Also, you can join my Chris Facebook group. Link is down below in the description. I post all kind of stuff over there. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support and everything you've done for me and my channel so far. I love you. You're awesome. You're amazing. And I'll definitely see you in the next video. Chris out.